Hello and welcome to the Rainbow Room International podcast channel and welcome to our Origin series. I've got Sam Mcfarlane with me today, who is the co-director of our Uddingston salon. Her journey has been triumphant through the Rainbow Room history. Again, one of these individuals that has tapped into every part of the brand, the business and the career, and is going to be a fascinating watch or a fascinating listen, depending on how you're taking the podcast in today. So enjoy. Today's podcast has been sponsored by Mataki Scissors, and I'm an ambassador for the brand, and I've been using them now for about 7 months, and they have been amazing. The fact that they're a British-based company, the fact that we can pick up the phone and work with them and we can get everything sharpened with them has been absolutely unique. So today's podcast is brought to you with the help of Mataki Scissors. Okay, so Sam, no pressure, but I've bigged you up as this is going to be a fascinating podcast.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But as I've obviously got to get my homework done at the start, and you've got your choice of Lindor or Whisper Gold. What is your chocolate of choice?
Oh, that would be Lindor.
Lindor. See, you knew she was going to have a posh one, didn't you?
Keeping it bougie.
We knew that. So, well, the good thing is that means I get a Whisper Gold for the dry foam because William's already been sorted from the podcast previous. Not that we do two in a day and I don't change my outfits. So, Sam, hello.
Hello.
How you doing? So again, this is the unique bit of all of this is obviously we've all known each other for years. We've all sat around a million tables and a million bars and been on a million buses together. So it starts off a bit daft and then it flows into the thing. But the main point, especially your first part of your podcast, is finding out more about you, the person, rather than ultimately, the salon owner and who you are now. So let's rewind to the start, So where were you born? Where were you from? Who were your folks? Right back to the start.
Oh wow, that's a long time ago. So I am one of 4 girls. Grew up in a very female heavy household.
Yeah.
Quelle surprise.
Yeah.
4 really strong females and my poor father,
Yeah.
who actually was amazing with us anyway, and he always bigged us up to be these really strong females.
Yeah.
So that was great. And
where are you in the timeline?
I'm the youngest.
You're the baby.
Oh, and I love that line.
Brilliant.
I love that
Brilliant.
line. I'm the youngest. So yes, some might say a bit spoiled.
Yeah. Well, this is baby to baby, remember, because I'm one of 5, remember. So we're baby to baby. So this is fine. The first unique thing about all the McGill girls are you are all the McGill girls. You see, like everybody laughs and jokes sometimes when they see my family out and about. They go, I think I met a Corvée today. Well, you definitely met one of your sisters to that way, to the point where obviously you and Sam forever get mixed up for being Susie always get mixed up for being twins all that time and being each other, as the case may be.
Well, we've actually changed it to the McGirls now, because as the family develops, we just keep producing girls and girls. So we've become the McGirls.
Well, it's been working so far. So if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly.
And then yes, your father in the midst of all of this.
Yeah, but he was great. He loved it, and he, we were talking about this earlier, like my dad, I mean, he was a scaffolder to trade, but he was a performer, he was a club singer, and back in the day he'd sang in like Barrowlands and some of the other ballrooms, and he was a real
So was that like big band cabaret stuff or what?
Sort of started, I suppose, in the 50s with big band, and then as it progressed, like kind of club type singing. And I think once or twice he'd been given his moment that, he could have potentially gone to London to do things. But he was a real family man, and he turned that down.
Wow.
But he was quite a cool cat. He was a cool character.
Sounds like it. Good record collection.
Great record collection, yes.
Which is a running theme because Sam here is our resident Northern Soul girl at Rainbow Room International. She's the one that knows the tunes. So needless to say, the Fred Perry had to come out today. That's a specific T-shirt, especially for her. Cause
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
We do try to hit the details, but and again, through all of our hairdressing careers, music's always been practically as integral as anything else. So where were you born?
About a mile away from where I've ended up. So I was born with Uddingston,
right.
Buckinghamshire.
Right.
And that was where we grew up and went to school in Lanarkshire. And so I suppose a real Lanarkshire lass at heart.
Right, and you're just gonna...
and went to school. Susie, my co-director, partner, sister, she had gone to work for Irvin Rusk in Hamilton, and she was doing that. She was loving it. I think she started in there maybe, not to steal her story, but maybe 1985. And I was in my 5th year at school, studying for my hires, was going to study business with languages.
Right.
That was where I was headed.
Yeah.
And Susie came in this night and said, we're really busy in the salon and they're asking if anyone's got siblings that could come and just help out for the day. And I said, I'll do that. You know, I'd never done a day's work in my life. Youngest of 4 children. I think I did a paper round for a day and decided that was not the life for me. So I went along to Irvin Rusk's, and I'll never forget it. I'd never been anywhere like that. And when we opened the front doors, it was just an alert to all the senses, the smell, the sound. Now, they were a powerhouse at the time.
Huge.
This was 1987, the year that they won British Hairdresser of the Year, and the time of power dressing. So I sort of walked in there, and it was huge, big salon, or it felt that way.
Yeah.
And to me, everyone in there, they looked like David Bowie or Grace Jones or something, the big shoulder pads and everyone looking slick. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. So I spent the day washing dishes, rinsing perm rods, doing all the things you do. And Alan Cameron was the manager there at the time, and he said to me, would you come back next week? I said, I would love to. And I absolutely loved it. So I went back for a few weeks on the trot, and Susie was probably like mid to the end of her training at this point, and I kept going back in, and after a few weeks he had said to me, I think you would be really good at this. I think this could be the job for you. And I was like, no, this is what Susie does. I'm taking my own path. I'm not just following in her footsteps. So I was kind of pushing against it. Meanwhile, absolutely loving it, falling for it. And by this time, I'd been going into training on a Tuesday night. The training would finish. We'd get on the bus and go to the alternative night at Bennett's.
Hilarious.
That was part of the training. And so, but I was resisting I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to work there, because I sort of had my own path.
Yeah.
So anyway, that kept going for a few months until eventually, I think it was maybe the March time, he was like, right, we're hiring now. So, and they had a list of people waiting to get in there.
Of course they did.
He was like, I can put you to the top of the list if you want to do this. And I mean, I knew instantly that I just wanted to do it. So I went home and said, Mum, Dad, I'm leaving school. And they were like, but you're just about to sit your hired. No, I'm not, I'm leaving. So,
Wow, so you didn't finish the year, you didn't?
I went like that with the study books, threw them over my shoulder and
put
my uniform on and off I went.
Because our timeline in that, I finished my exams at 5th year. I'd signed up to do business at college because I didn't.
That right?
Yeah, I just didn't. It wasn't that we were ever pushed to go to work in the chippy or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, at least if I learn this, I might be able to help my mum and dad. Because I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. And obviously, as everybody knows, I was a client and all that kind of stuff. But I thought, well, I'll just finish them. But my issue was I finished them and I actually flukily did quite well. And my mum was like, you sure? But I'd already signed up and I was already at Rainbow Room by that point. But, oh man, because my question coming was, what did your mum and dad think about you now not doing the uni, the kind of the business study thing, not doing the exam thing? So what did they say to that?
So they weren't best pleased, right? But as I've mentioned, as the youngest of 4, so they'd had a lot of practice at this.
It's softened by this point, we
and
did.
Our parents were supportive of anything we ever did. So they weren't best pleased. They would have preferred me to have sat the exams. I think they would probably have preferred me to have gone and done what.
Yeah.
But, you know, as any decent parent will do, they supported the wish of their child, and that was it. So.
And there wasn't a huge, there wasn't a huge positivity around the career at that time.
No, not at all. Not at all. And, you know, Susie would come home and tell stories that
she shouldn't be telling your mum and dad.
She shouldn't have been telling, so they were like, "Oh, here we go, round 2." But it was fabulous, and I loved it, and I was just drawn into that whole sense of excitement, and this can be work. Like, you know, you come here, everyone looks incredible, the music's on, the creativity. I mean, there was hair flying off left, right, and centre, and Rusk's in the mid-80s, and they were probably at their creative high at that
Absolute
point. As I said,
zenith,
they just won British Hairdresser of the Year and produced this stunning book that they had, and I was in awe of all this. I mean, I knew nothing at this point. Susie was already in her hair journey. I was just this kid in absolute awe, thinking, this looks like a fun ride.
This is amazing.
I'm on board,
I love that. I love the idea.
Sign me up.
All these leaps of faith that keep coming from the origin stories are always amazing. Will's is like some sort of diving springboard, by the way. Right? Will's is just like, oh, well, come on, bosh. But the idea that you've been that brave, you know, now sitting here as a parent, where would your mindset be yourself for your own kids coming in with that kind of, I'm going to do this thing?
Oh, 100% can put my hand in my heart. My kids would tell you the same. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Do what sets you light.
Yeah.
Do what sets you light.
Right.
My daughter has just started international fashion branding at Clare.
Wow.
Now, Evie's exam results could have got her in anywhere. In fact, she has unconditional for Glasgow, Strathclyde, all of it. But I said to her, do it.
Yeah, of course.
You know, set you on fire. Do what you want to do. You've got a whole life of thinking about getting serious. And if you do something you love, you'll make it work. You can make a career out of it.
That's amazing.
You know, so just... Yeah.
What a cracking springboard. And the fact that from your own success off the back of taking that leap, you've got that confidence as a parent to be able to instill that into your guys as well. And again, I suppose another thing that's really similar to my own story is that first Saturday and just going, wow, this is mental, but it's my kind of mental, and it's exactly that thing. It was the clothes, it was the hair, and then the other similarity I would say was I thought they were all magicians.
Yeah.
I had no idea why did they know? Why is that bit of hair meant to be cut there, and why is they just all look like magicians to me? And that was amazing. And I think it's really important, and I guess as Rainbow Room as a brand, we would always give props to the people around us and before us and after us and in between, but I think people underestimate just how huge an influence Irvin and Rita were to British and world hairdressing at the time. It wasn't that they were this Scottish brand that were doing really, really well. They were absolutely... They
were pioneers, weren't they? And, you know, at that time, I mean, I had no idea how to use or what to do with them, but they developed all those scissors. Remember all those different texturising?
Yeah, they were huge with the texturisers and all that,
Oh, it was incredible. It was the most incredible introduction to
and the weird thing as well, not knowing, because you don't have that crystal ball yet, but Alan and Linda have been woven in that history and have been in that journey.
And so many Scottish hairdressers of that ilk had been. You know, they'd all come through that same...
because there'll be that generation, probably more so the generation before yourself, that had all sort of dipped their toe in the brand and either stayed with or moved on as well. But their platform, their style, their attitude was probably quite different from Rainbow Room, I would guess, to a certain extent. But certainly, you know, they were just huge. It was amazing. What an amazing place to grow up. So went from being a Saturday guy, chuck school, in the March. I mean, you were weeks away. I love that, by the way. I love that, right? But you're weeks away from doing your exams, and then you start full time. So what would be the timeline or training process with them at the time?
So I didn't finish my training there because at that time they had that year where they'd won British Hairdresser of the Year and all that sort of stuff, but then things were starting to change quite a lot. So I think I maybe did about 18 months there.
Right.
And things were changing a lot. A lot of the big names had left. Susie had left, she'd gone to London.
Yeah.
But a lot of the bigger names had sort of moved on. And Irvin was going away to America.
Yeah.
Things were changing quite dramatically. So I left and went to work with Barry Littlewood, who was also an absolute icon at the time. Sort of finished my training there in Hamilton, then came into town, worked in a few salons, wasn't really finding myself at all, wasn't really enjoying it very much anymore. And was working in a salon with Ronnie. Now I was trying to remember Ronnie's second name. Can't remember.
I would be lying.
But he was known as Wee Ronnie.
Wee Ronnie.
Wee Ronnie with the dark hair. Fabulous wee hairdresser who was working alongside me in this other salon. And it was Ronnie that said to me, I think you should go to the Rainbow Room.
So had he already been at Rainbow Room?
He had been,
because he was Linda's assistant at one point.
Was that
he was
right?
He was Linda Burdetti's assistant at one point.
Was that right?
Yeah, and there's a fabulous story about a pair of dungarees that I can't tell. And but he again was just one of these names. He was always talked about in the ether like Stephen Flannery was talked about.
Yes.
The two of them were always discussed as these sort of larger than life, tiny figures, because they were tiny. So he was a legend in his own right by the time I got to Buchanan Street. But and again, that's the thing that always amazes me is how the spider's web of all of these hairdressers end up in all of these places. So I didn't know about your connection with him.
No, he wasn't going back to them.
No, he wasn't. No, he didn't know. That's right.
He said, I don't think this is the right place for you. I think you should go to Rainbow Room. I think that would be the place that you would really grow in. And
you're going to flourish in that one. So from that chat with him to sort of either did you write, did you phone, did you just walk into 15? What did you do?
I mean, do you know, I was thinking about that when I was thinking of this journey, and I can't remember. I can't remember. I think I must have phoned. Well, I wouldn't have emailed, would I?
No. Because Will wrote a letter. Will wrote a letter and Linda wrote back to him. You're going, when was the last time that ever happened?
Is that right? I'm reckoning that I would probably have phoned. And then get an interview with Linda, but it was in Buchanan Street.
Yeah. That's what happened to me too. Because I was a client at 15. Knew that's where she was, and then went to 15 from interview. So I was actually technically late from interview, surprisingly enough for me, because I went to 15. And for all my time being a Ouija and being into, I didn't know there was one in Buchanan Street. I had no idea.
Because it's raised off the ground, I suppose.
But I mean, that was it. Just no idea. So time I got there, and then I was already terrified walking into 15, and then walking into Buchanan Street at that point in 1990. I was utterly terrified. The most terrifying place in the world. But how did you... Was Rainbow Room in your hairdressing ether before Ronnie had mentioned it? Or?
Yes, it was, because when I worked at Littlewood and Beaton, somebody came back there who had just left Rainbow Room, and I ended up being his assistant as well. So I already knew.
It's funny.
Yeah. And also I knew Joanna from being out and about, just from clubs and stuff like that. So I very much knew about it. Did my models, and that was that. Got started by Linda.
So what's that, 91? Are you 91?
I think so.
I think so.
I did warn you about dates.
Yeah, no, I know. I think
I was,
you're a year after me. I think, I'm sure it's 91.
I'm sure it was 91, towards the end of 91. And then we had the induction, of course, that 2-day induction.
Brilliant.
Where you just learn so much. And again, thought, wow, this place is incredible. It was a bit like going into the Rusk salon, but in a very different way. I was sat there thinking, this place is all about development, education, training, improvement. This is, quite visionary, and it feels really different, and it feels really exciting, and So got on board.
I think it definitely always had that idea of that platform and that standard, and those standards not being messed with, which I think was always what I, from the outside looking in, thought a risk was like, this is it, and if you don't, live up to this, it's not happening. But obviously, especially talking to Linda's origin story, was there was nowhere for her to go from there, and that was the one thing that she always wanted to pass on to anybody growing up after her in her business, that there was always going to be something for somewhere to go.
There were all these strategies in place, weren't there, and career ladders and development. In my time, my short time in Ross, I didn't really see any of that. It was just you sort of made it or you didn't. But Alan and Linda had made this complete structure of education and self-development, which I thought this is incredible. Do
you think that also comes from the uniqueness of not having somebody's name above the door? That day you instantly become, you're Mrs. Rainbowroom that day to that client or that kid coming up after you, as opposed than having an actual surname, brand name,
perhaps,
but then, well, I'm never going to be that guy. So, because you obviously hear about other people in other brands that, couldn't get to a position because either family members were getting it. Obviously we've never had any of that issue, But
also, I think, not to take away, it's maybe got to do with the name, but also I think not to forget that, Alan and Linda, again, were quite visionary in the business aspect of hairdressing. So a lot of the hairdressers were built on talent and creativity, but they were building bringing both of these worlds together. So they were looking at it and thinking, how can we develop these people and how can we develop our business? So, the creativity in one hand and the structure,
and they were definitely
other.
Unique about that, weren't they? Because and they showed both as a positive thing, that it wasn't boring or stuffy to have your business head on, but equally it was in tandem with the hairdressing. So you're in that position as well, that you're walking in 1991 into 15 Royal Exchange Square, which again is just full of unbelievable hairdressers and unbelievable characters, and quite boy heavy at the time as well, because again that's the thing that kept on coming through at that timeline, that Buchanan Street and 15 were probably 60% to 65% guys to sort of girl ratio. How did it feel walking in at the start and beginning your journey there?
It was quite nerve-wracking to start with, but I feel that the induction was so welcoming and there was a plan, and I do remember feeling a bit nervous, but I remember feeling at home very quickly. And the characters, it was all David, John, Coco.
So was Coco back at 15
Coco
by that point?
Wasn't quite back. She came back about a week after me.
Right.
But her name was being bandied around the staff room, like Coco's coming back, coming back, and and obviously led by Linda, and it was just so much fun. Adrian, Will joined, Yasmin. It was so much fun. We worked hard, we played hard, we laughed a lot, and it was just a great place to be.
So in that timeline, how long did you have much of a transferable clientele from the salons that you were all in?
No, I had none really.
Wow, right.
No, I didn't really have any clientele because I'd came from Lanarkshire. I'd worked in a couple of salons in town. No, I wasn't developed as a hairdresser at all. And
I suppose, again, the hindsight that we lived through with the brand, and that you're in a salon, it's just the folk coming through the door and all that, the whole idea of self-promoting and going getting people and all that, stand by and everything and we were really lucky enough to grow up right at the start of all that, and shiatsu getting brought in and all that. It really was different. It wasn't like anywhere else. How long did it take you to sort of, right, I've got my clientele, I'm building, I feel like I'm the guy now?
I think probably, I don't remember ever feeling like that. I think it was just a growth and a development the whole way. But we were given so many opportunities of clients, and I still have a client in my column. I did on my first day.
Yeah, do you?
I absolutely still have a client.
I love it.
Still comes to Eddington.
Brilliant.
So, but I don't remember ever thinking, I've made it, because you've never made it.
No.
You're moving all the time. But yeah, I mean, it probably took a year or two until I felt really comfortable with what I was doing as well.
What about promotion-wise? Where were you in the sort of first promotions?
So I think I started at senior stylist.
Right.
And then just, promotion after promotion, and was really interested in getting involved in all the art team stuff. And so I was just going along to all the meetings, and I remember they were, they'd be preparing for the alternative hair show and all the choreography was going on. That was fabulous to watch, and got to go along to a few of them. And I mean, those bus journeys to London were quite something.
Infamous to say the least. That was the unique thing, because at that point 15's still the academy.
Yes.
So you're getting all the assistants from Buchanan Street and obviously your own salon training downstairs, and the different teachers and the evolution of that, because one minute Alan had loads of teachers and then the next minute they'd all get the sack, and he would change it all the time, and so you got to see that. But I think the one thing, and fast forward 30 years and it's kind of happening in your own salon now, that the epicenter of the art team was 15 at that point. So in that, none of us really had to go home, so you just had to get your dinner brought in, and then and the rest of us would come over from Buchanan Street and we would just get started. That's unique. Did that ever feel like a burden, or was that always just an add-on and something?
Oh, it was just an add-on. Yeah, absolutely. It was just an add-on. I was just happy to be there. And I think when you're submerged in a culture like that, it's a lifestyle. Yeah. There's two ways to be a hairdresser, isn't there? There's it's your job, and you do it and you finish, or you just immerse yourself. And at that age, I just immersed myself in all of it. Absolutely everything. We were doing the Kaizen nights, so you'd all that personal growth stuff going on. And you always wanted to impress, you had to make sure all those figures were in place. And then you had your art team nights. And I just wanted to be there for all of it. Yeah. And then at the end of the week, we all went out together. So, my life was just... I think it's a lifestyle. Definitely.
It comes out of everybody's origin story. And even things like the Kaizen nights, you can split that into two camps of the people that saw it was a positive, even though it was really hard, and you were going to have some real home truths said to you, which is probably now legislated out of the industry. And I'm pretty sure you and I could not have a team meeting like those. Don't think we'd have very many people left, and we'd probably be in the papers. But not that it caused us any harm, by the way, and it worked, and we're standing on the shoulders of giants because of it. But we look back at that going, remember them? And they were great. They were great. Whereas you definitely had another camp of stylists around us that it was a nightmare and they didn't want to be there, and it was hell on earth for them.
It was only a nightmare when you had a bad week, wasn't it? So I suppose it did push you to succeed, because if you went there and your figures were up, you were speaking loud and proud. You could hear that voice across the room. The
tone changed.
However, if your figures were down, thank you, down by 2%.
I mean, and for those, so for people wondering what this was, obviously the approach of Kaizen was to continual improvement, constant learning, and continual growth. And we were given a set of figures that we would have to hit on an average weekly basis that weren't included in our promotion ones, but there was just a bare minimum to be of a standard. If you didn't hit those numbers, you had to go to these meetings. Now, the meetings were compulsory if you hadn't hit the figures, but if you hit the figures and you wanted to go, then you could go. And sometimes they were brutal, and sometimes they weren't. And as Sam's saying, depending on your figures would then depend on whether they were good or not. But I mean, it's actually been one of the things from post Japan. I've kind of brought that back, and I'm going, why am I doing my figures for you? You should be giving the figures to me and bringing it back.
I don't remember them being compulsory or non-compulsory. I just remember it as something we went to on a Wednesday night, because there was so much more to it than just the
what
figures.
Would have happened would have been the top stylists at the time that were like the Lindas and the Pams and all that gang. They were only ever had to attend if they hadn't hit the numbers.
Oh, okay. So probably as young stylists, we went anyway.
It would have been loosely thrown out there that they weren't compulsory.
Yeah.
But needless to say, for us and at our level and where we were at in that journey, they were absolutely compulsory. And if we weren't there, we wouldn't have been in the salons for very long, probably, because I'm pretty sure Alan and Linda were taking a wee roll call in the background going, and the names were, you know, because the ones that weren't there, or the ones that weren't in the figures, aren't here anymore. You know, so there's a running theme with that, but it worked. I mean, that's the cold hard fact of it. It worked. But that, again, exactly as you said at the start, is that's that business side of it, and make sure the numbers were there, make sure the stability in your column was there. But the flip side is where's your creativity at? Where are you at in that journey? What you bring into the brand? Because obviously our clientele's all won out of that, because we were learning all this stuff, or we were seeing stuff, or we were being brave enough because we were watching all these amazing hairdressers, and then we got to put that onto our clientele and taking us all out of our comfort zone as well, which was the art team for me. That was the big thing, was just that, you know, I've got to watch, I can play it safe every time. If there's an option, that's the opposite of Will's diving off the diving board. I've got the rubber ring on and the two hangs around the arms, and I don't want to sink, you know. So that's what art team was for me, was to literally be in the room going, I don't know how to do this, and I'm about to get found out. But it meant that next week I did know how to do it, and I wasn't going to get found out, and that was unique in itself. What was your journey in the art team like?
There's always an element of that. I mean, you're talking about that there, and one of my biggest memories. So it developed through the art team and just assisting Luke and Coco and all these sort of things, and then Luke, Alan, Linda and Coco were going to Italy to do a big expo. I'd been in the art team for a while now. I'm sure we'll go on to this. I'd probably done the yachts by this point as well. And Alan, Linda, Luke and Coco, we're going to Italy, to Rimini, to do this big expo. And Coco took sick, and I was asked to go at the last minute. Wow, right. And I thought, can I do this? Can I do this? And then I thought, absolutely. Pull my big girl pants up and jump right in and see what happens. And I was terrified. And I felt right out of my depth. But I thought, this is too good an opportunity to pass up. And if Alan and Linda are taking me along, then they trust me to do it. So, but to go out on stage with the three of them in this huge expo, it was a theatre show, it was massive, and we went out, and it was probably the first time we were headsetted up, and we had an interpreter, and I was just thinking, what am I doing out here? I feel like Madonna, but I feel like I shouldn't be here. And it was kind of terrifying, but it was fabulous.
What an amazing sliding door moment.
Oh, absolutely. Because
it would have been easy to go, do you know what, no, I can't
do that.
I can't do that. It's
and
not
I
fun.
was tempted, but I don't know, I don't even know if I've ever told this story or if they even noticed, but the night before we'd had the model call and my insides were like this, and we'd had the model call and we were prepping the models here and cutting the models here, and I cut a huge chunk out my finger, just with nerves, because my hands were shaking, and like this, trying to stop the bleeding, and out I went. By the next morning I was much better, fine, settled into it. Out I went, strapped with a strapped up knuckle, and as I'm cutting this model I'm trying to hide the blood from Alan, and wow. But that was quite a moment. And
there's a running theme of a lot of plasters getting used at Salon International and things like that, just that wee initial shake. So you touched on that. So 95 we've done Clothes Show live in Glasgow for the first time. And Alan had basically taken the other side of the Schwarzkopf stage, and we were all on that, and we were doing that. And at that point, that was the inception of the Schwarzkopf Young Artistic Team. And the competition was going to be at the tail end of that year, moving on to 96. And that was going to be the inception of the first ever team. So 4 of us went down to Birmingham, did the competition. And for all of the reasons that you probably thought you weren't getting through, I had all the reasons why I thought I wasn't getting through, because the 2 other people that came from Rainbow Room were knee deep in that world and all that kind of stuff. And I instantly, because of all of the 4, I was the weakest link, from that respect, because I had nowhere near the experience. I'd done a lot of other stuff, but I didn't get to do the alternatives and all that kind of stuff. So I hadn't done that kind of thing. But lo and behold, yourself and I get picked, and we're in that first ever young artistic team for Schwarzkopf. How was that pivotal in your journey?
Yeah, I think I had forgotten actually that 4 of us went down and you and I get picked, and I suppose that was quite a reaffirming moment, wasn't it?
Huge.
And it is a moment. I
Huge.
suppose, again, you should never measure yourself against other people, and it goes to prove that being a hairdresser and being good at these things takes all kinds of qualities.
Yeah.
It's, it's all kinds of qualities to make that sort of whole person.
Yeah.
But I think the yachts thing was incredible, and it was terrifying because for that time I'd now been 4 or 5 years in that bubble of Rainbow Room, so you were safe in there.
Yeah.
But then you and I were getting pulled out of there, sent into a group of other young people, and seeing how you would compare, almost, and could you hold your own, and could you...
And you were almost carrying that wee bit of Scottish baggage of just going, oh, when we go down south, they're going to be better than us, and this, that, and the next thing, and very quickly going, oh no, wait a minute, here we're at where we're at, and you absolutely hit the nail on the head there, especially for somebody like myself that photographically I can't see it. You tell me what to do, tell me what to create, and I'll create the thing, but don't tell me what's the right side, or don't ask me, you take the picture, and you. So I, even to this day, that wasn't it. But give me a microphone, plonk me on a stage, give me a pair of scissors, preferably give me short hair, and get out my road. And the great thing with the yachts was there was as much of that, if not probably more than the other aspect of it, and I found my lane at that point, and that was great.
And
but
the training for that was fabulous. Remember,
massive,
was it Beverly Cabela?
That's right. She took her first weekend. The weekend of Rangers playing Juventus at Ibrox, no less, and I had tickets for the game, and we were learning how the polystyrene bits were put in the boxes while the kick-off started, and so the game's kicked off in Glasgow. I'm standing there learning how they put all the wee bits in the packaging, going, can we not go home? Can we not go home? But anyway, no, all of that was great. That was a great journey, and that changed my self-confidence in who I thought I could be. At that point, and you're bravadoing it a bit at that time,
absolutely,
and you're trying to be this, but that's the first time I went, oh no, actually, right, I get in that, and everybody involved, because again, exactly as you're saying about the Italy thing, Alan and Linda wouldn't have let us go if we weren't going to hold the brand to a good standard. But what's really interesting about that then is that surely the confidence that you've gained from doing all that Schwarzkopf stuff is the reason why you were able to turn around to Alan and Linda and go, I'll come. Get me a ticket on that plane. I can do this. Yeah, so that is amazing. But again, that was an absolutely unique time, and that was great. So you're obviously pivotal in the move from 15 to George Square.
Oh yeah.
So that's right. You're top of your game by that point. Clientele's massive. Your art team journey is all there. Were you teaching?
I was teaching, actually. That had just come out of my head. I was teaching in 24.
Yeah, so you were doing that in the second floor.
Yeah, I had a wee shot at everything. I wanted a wee shot at everything.
Well, that's, I think that's, the running theme is none of us have ever really not done any bit of it, which...
You're just taking the chance at everything you're given, and on the back of that Italy thing, another thing we did from then, we did maybe another 5 or 6 trips out to Italy. I was lucky enough to get on. Some with Yasmin, some with Luke, I mean, again, you're going out there. I remember Yasmin and I going on our own and thinking, wow, we've got to do this. We've got to be the grown-ups here, and we've got to carry this. But it was just all fabulous. Do
you not think that's the running theme always, that we've been empowered from a very young age in the brand? You were never too young. You were never not experienced enough. If you could do it and you were passionate about it and you said yes, or as Will talks about, is did you knock the door and ask? Because if you knocked the door and asked, then chances are Alan and Linda went, go and do that, and that keeps jumping out of it all the time. But there is that, and it's funny, I'm already laughing at the picture in my head of you and Yasmin giggling at each other, just going, they've gave us the ball and we've got to look after this, right? And Will and I have been in the exact same situation in other places, in other rooms, going, I can't believe they've left us as the face of this business. You know, it's like, what could possibly go wrong? But how was the transition from 15 to George Square?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. I absolutely
was this more your space? It looked more like you.
It was incredible. I mean, just that huge big space right in the centre of the city. I was probably at my most confident in what I was doing then as well, you know, kind of mid to late 20s, so you've got a bit more belief in yourself, and I went round there firmly planted as one of Linda's girls, as she would tell you. Yes, there was a few of us, and we were all given jobs, trusted with. I remember one of mine was to actually go and pick and buy accessories for this beautifully designed salon. So I like that.
Which, needless
job,
to say, now seems like the obvious thing.
Yeah, and I was also entrusted with the music.
Again, that is obvious, and always personally, and you know my view on that, the most important bit of it, you know, that's like the tunes on the right.
Stacking up the 5 or 10 CD player for the day.
Brilliant. And you'd have had the problem because it would have been in the basement. So if the tunes went wrong, was the CD player not in the offices downstairs, or was it?
Yes, it was.
If it went all horribly wrong, you'd be up and down those bloody stairs.
And there was always that balance of pleasing Linda and pleasing the staff and pleasing myself.
Yeah, of course.
You know, somewhere along that line. And if it would get a bit too bouncy, we would sort of get that from Linda. Take it down a bit, you know.
You would know the vibe would come straight away. But I think as well, because in my head, if like whether it was the assistant shows or anything that I had any stewardship in, everything started with a song for me.
Yeah.
The hair and the music, the hair and the clothes and the choreography came backwards. And even if I was just presenting, or like whether the times I did Salon International with Luke or whatever, it was like, right, well, what are we going to do? And I would go, right, well, what are going to be the 3 coolest records at that moment in time, and build it back from them. That was always my.
Well, the music creates the atmosphere and the visual picture. And
exactly. And I couldn't, and to this day, I couldn't do it in reverse. I couldn't come up with. A tune will come on, and I'll visualise a hair show. I couldn't do it the other way around. I couldn't come up with a bit of hair and go, right, what would be a good bit of music for that? I would probably now be asking AI.
I mean, I'm still the same in the salon. If I go in and I don't like the music that's on, I can't ignore it.
No.
It grates on me.
No.
So
and if it goes off and nobody puts it on, who are all these people that don't know it's on?
I'll say, could you put the music on? Aye. I didn't realise it was on.
How can that not be?
You can't hear the silence.
Do you not think that's also going to be, and I know that's where it comes from, is the fact that because I'm the baby, I've had 4 other siblings and my parents' generational music tastes drummed into me my whole life, and at absolutely no point, car, chip shop or home, was there not a radio or a stereo on?
Yeah, there was
if not
music,
2 or 3 at the same time. And again, that was one of the things, like going, all right, there's going to be music playing in here all the time. I can do this job, you know. So it's amazing how that doesn't leave it. But if Linda's giving you that ball, that's like, well, Linda giving you any responsibility is instantly an honour. But obviously, don't drop it.
No.
Don't drop it either. So when did management come into it? Was that a sort of soft start, or did you make a decision that you were going to go into it? Or
I mean, I've always been bossy, Ricardo.
No comment. No comment. Said nothing.
Yeah. So I suppose it would have been in George Square.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, I managed the assistants, didn't I? Yeah. I mean, I was teaching and I was managing the assistants, I think, in George Square. I was always there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And then I suppose that got serious when, probably a few years into George Square, Susie was coming back to Glasgow. And you know, she said to me, well, she'd been in London for years.
Yeah.
Where do you think I should work? And I said, well, come and work at the Rainbow Room, like, duh.
Yeah.
But don't come and work with me.
Yeah.
And John and Joe had started in the West End at that time, and I said, do you know what? I think there you guys, you're going to hit it off great with them. It's quite new, it's something you can grow in, all of that. So she came up and went there, and within a couple of years we were then talking like, well, what's our plan? What's our goal?
Well, that's what I was going to ask, was that getting into the management bit, was there always this idea of, yeah, I'm going to have a salon one day? Was that, did you see that as a thing, or was that a natural progression when Susie came up that the two of you kind of aligned on that?
I think it was a natural progression.
Yeah.
I think when I started in hairdressing, I just wanted a bit of everything.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted the teaching, the art team, the management. I just wanted to do it all. I just wanted to have a really good time while I was working as well. And by this time, I would have had gills. So a few years into George Square, I would then have gone off on maternity to have my son. And took a few months off, come back to work as you do.
Well, as you did.
As you did.
Not everybody else does, but you did.
And then Susie would have been back, and so I would have been working part-time then.
Yeah.
And Susie and I don't think I'd always thought, I absolutely one day will have my own salon. I was just enjoying the journey.
I think the one thing that's really important for your own story, and it comes out of Coco's as well, in that a lot of people that had been hairdressers and then had kids was kind of the end of the story to a certain extent, and then didn't go on to have these successful careers, or it fizzled out, or it disappeared, which obviously goes with the timeline that predominantly salon owners were guys back in the day and whatever. But the fact that you guys did do that, then come back in, go from part-time. Now, obviously, you had such huge clientele and you were that successful that coming back into it's not like people wanting to start off part-time now and expecting to be successful. That's not what you guys did. You were successful, top of your trade, then went, had a family part-time, and then built back up from them. But the fact that you didn't see that as a blockage for you getting the salon is fantastic, you know?
It never... That never occurred to me.
Yeah.
You know, that never occurred to me. So,
but I think that's amazing, because it's not as if there would be a massive amount of role models, whether within the brand at that point and or sort of the greater community, that basically, well, I've had my kids now, I'm off skiing.
I suppose it depends what angle you're coming from. Like I said, you know, I grew up in quite a female heavy world. So there was, you know, having children was never going to be something that held me back. It was going to be something that grew me as a person.
Of course.
And,
of course.
So Susie and I got into talks about that, and she was then now establishing herself, starting her role in the art team and with John, and we got talking about it, and we approached Alan and Linda, and it was an absolute yes. And then I don't know how much further down the line, maybe a year or so down the line, when possibly we got the salon.
And at that point, you know, you're kind of, so you've went stylist and growth, you've went art team and growth, and you've done all of that. Did you then see your sort of brain starting to go, right, I need to become this business person and get sort of like management training from Alan and Linda and start to learn that aspect? Because they're very different things.
Yes,
you know?
They are very different things, but I think I've always had that bit in me.
Yeah.
And my sisters used to call me Tifal Heat at home, right?
Nice.
So I always had, I needed to work out how everything worked. I was always the person in the house that knew how everything worked.
Yeah.
And I like to find details, and
and
in the
you're
salon,
the why guy.
I took that natural kind of leadership thing on anyway.
From the outside looking in, right, obviously you grew up under Linda as well, so you're king of a list. Yeah. Like a list, things are getting ticked off. Yeah. You know, stuff's getting. You know, you're very much. You're not the kind of, you know, not throwing him under the bus here, but David sort of seat the pants. Hey, well, let's make it happen. It's like very much the opposite to that. was that already in you from home then, as much as then sort of watching Linda's reaffirming that?
Yeah, I think it's just in me as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just a control freak.
You're that guy.
I'm just a bossy control freak, you know, I can admit
Scott's in the background like that
really
going, yes.
I'm sure everyone in the background is nodding. I'm definitely softened with age, that's for sure.
Sure about that?
Well, I
Anyway.
don't know. That's what's around me. Anyway, moving on.
Oh, brilliant.
Anyway, you know, Linda started to sort of show us the all the systems that they had in place. But I suppose the management training, well, it's a bit like learning to drive your car, isn't it? Or being taught to be a hairdresser.
Yeah.
You know, you learn the skill, but you learn nothing until you're out there living it.
No.
And you're not even learning when it's all going great.
No.
You learn the skills when it gets tough.
Exactly.
And you learn through the mistakes and you learn through the experiences and you try to do better the next time. And so I think you can do a level of management system training.
Yeah.
But like learning to drive or like learning to be a hairdresser, you're only going to learn through experience and being open-minded enough to admit your mistakes.
Yeah.
Always look in the mirror and take the blame and put your shoulder to the ground and go again.
And had both of you discussed the idea of having specific roles in the business? Because again, siblings in a business can be a really positive thing, and obviously I started with my brother as well, and that was really positive for all the reasons that it was too. And at the end of the day, he wasn't a hairdresser, so we were never going to conflict in that perspective, because at the end of the day, one, also it was in my name, so if it all went horribly wrong, it was only me that was losing out on this, you know. And then two, I'm the one cutting hair, so we really had completely separate roles in it. Whereas obviously yourself were coming in, you know, with, you know, similar standards, similar clienteles, obviously both steeped in the artistic side of it as well. So had you planned that out, or did that happen after?
By this time I had probably stepped back from the artistic side because I had a 5-year-old son, so I didn't want to be away and moving around. And I was much more into the business and organisational side, whereas Susie is educator, creator. So I think we make a good whole person.
Yeah, no, organically. So now knowing that and hearing that, because obviously the timeline of the wee man being born and all that, just, again, it's really weird. It just seems to, that appeared at the right time, and that happened at the right time to let your focus change.
Well, the
almost.
timeline of the next one was even more interesting, because we opened in the July of 2006.
Yeah.
And that was me just back to work full time after having had Gil. And, you know, we were in the throes of just, this business had just hit the ground running, and we were super, super busy right in the midst of it. This was in the July, and in the October, I was pregnant.
Genius.
Yeah.
Genius. Well,
absolute genius. So, I wouldn't like to call it a mistake, but let's call it a surprise.
A surprise, yes, exactly.
Exactly.
A blessing, a surprising blessing.
Yes.
Obvious question then, so Uddingston, was it always going to be Uddingston? Did you both have a sort of, where did you want to be?
No. So I think we knew we were going to come out of the city.
Yeah.
And we started looking back towards Lanarkshire.
Yeah.
Having that Rusk history.
Of course.
We knew that the area embraced luxury and luxury things, and it was quite a growing area again.
Because East Kilbride had been open by then, wouldn't it?
No, it wasn't open.
No,
so actually, East Kilbride Village was somewhere that we had sort of been looking, unbeknown that Adrian and Cassie were already looking there. I remember having that conversation with them. But we were most interested in Bothwell.
Yeah.
But the properties in Bothwell were all quite small and not really coming up the same. So Alan came to us with Uddingston. He was like, how do you feel about Uddingston? And I thought, I don't know. That's where I'm from. As I said, the salon's like a mile away from where we... And I thought, I've been away. I've been in town working and living for, you know, however many years. And as soon as I was like 16, 17, I was desperate to get into town anyway. You know, I was never going to be that local yokel kind of person.
Yeah, got you.
So it was a bit scary to go back, but I think I remember a conversation with Alan had been speaking with someone at the bank, and they'd been at some big conference or other, and they were saying, you know, the growth in Uddingston is massive at the moment, and so it became, with Susie was really happy with Uddingston, and I kind of got on board with it, and now I couldn't be more glad. I think it's a much better set up and location for us than Bothwell would have been.
Yeah.
I think our audience is wider.
Yeah.
We're close to the motorways, we're on the train. I think Bothwell is much more self-contained, and it would be more Bothwell, whereas we sort of spread.
Definitely.
Where we are, you're kind of spreading across Lanarkshire and town.
Aye. And you made it, you made that instantly your bit of the town in those four walls, didn't you?
Oh, so my thinking was, I do not want to open a local salon. You know, I'd worked in a city for years. Susie had worked in London, some big names, and we were like, we're not opening a local salon. We are taking the city centre to the locale. And our thoughts behind it were always, we're not trying to get the clients that are going to all the other salons in Uddingston. We're trying to get the clients that are travelling to town. Yeah. I mean, we opened up right next door to a salon, and lots of people were like, that's a weird choice. Like, not really, because we're not, you know, we're I'm not after their 500 clients, I'm after these other 500. Yeah. I always had this thing, Alan Austin Smith has it in the fantastic hairdresser, of if you're sitting behind somebody in a bus and they're talking about either you as a hairdresser or your salon, what are the things you wouldn't want to hear them say, and the phrase for me was, it's just a franchise. Yeah. That burned to my core, because people would always ask me, what's your competition? I'm like, 125 Buchanan Street. Yeah. Because that's the best hairdressing salon I know. I went, so that's my competition. And that's no disrespect to the salons around me, and there was 40-year businesses around me when I opened in here, and they were all brilliant, and they were all great, and it's got nothing to do with that. It was, that's what I've grown up with. That's what I understand to be the pinnacle of hairdressing in my eyes. So it needs to be and look like and smell like and feel like that, and it can't be anything. And I would hope I still try to produce that every day today too. And I think that's in all of us, that when we left the city, because it actually took me, and it was one of my failings, it took me a long time to commit to not being in the city. I had this idea that I was going to make this thing amazing in 3 years, stick a manager in it, come back to town. I didn't initially. The credit crisis changed my entire trajectory of my mindset, with the fact that I wasn't going to end up with a city centre salon, and had to very quickly go, you're not that guy, you're that guy. And that's a mistake. That's not, it happened and it was dealt with, but that was a mistake. But again, that idea of going, well, I now need to turn this into the town, and that standard, I think, is fascinating. But exactly as you say, that sort of... I've always felt like that. Like, people would say, do you miss working in town? I'm like, no, because...
You made it happen anyway.
It doesn't really matter. Once you're through the doors, you can create whatever you want to create through the doors.
Exactly.
And we did. And I mean, we opened... on Fair Monday, there was 5 of us with 3 stylists, a assistant, and a front of house, and within a year there was 15 of us.
It's mental. You and I are very unique in that we were probably the only salons that did open with front of house, because a lot of the salons didn't have reception teams. There's a kind of running theme of that as well, where I don't say anything because that's okay. There's a wee running theme of that. So the week leading up, what was the sort of transition from how long between Downing Tools and George Square to opening the salon was there?
Oh, the weekend.
Was it?
Yeah. I think we finished in George Square on the Saturday, and
then you were in and
partied all night on the Saturday.
Because of course I crashed my motorbike and broke my collarbone, so I didn't get my last 2 weeks. Why do it the easy way? So I didn't have my last 2 weeks in B Street, and then obviously didn't cut hair for probably 2 weeks, and 3 weeks in air when I first started, which weirdly worked out as a positive, because it allowed me to stand back and go, don't like, and get a more idea of where I was, because it instantly was very different for me and felt really weird and really alien. And whereas everybody that worked for me came for a year.
Is that right?
Yeah, but they all came to Glasgow and they all worked at Buchanan Street for 6 months while the salon was getting built.
Right.
They were all from there.
Right.
And it instantly became there. And I'm like, no. It needs to be. So I think if I had my head down and having to deal with my own clients and not get to see that, I think my first 2 years in the business would have been completely different, which is really
still
weird.
To this day is one of the most difficult juggling acts. Do I work in it or do I work on it?
Yeah.
You know, and more we need to work in it nowadays for financial reasons.
And the book tells you not to, but that's all fine that the book tells you not to, but the bank manager says you do.
Also, then again, you know, when you're working on it, you're working on a piece of paper and you're working with things, or certainly you're developing people, that's the most important thing. But working in it, I think, and your team saying you do that,
you're walking the talk.
That's development. It's not sitting there telling people what to do.
But we grew up under that. Al and Linda were follow me, charge, not do what I say. And I think we would, and none of us have ever been that hypocritical to not then be. None of us have, but we've all been in each part of it. So the last bit of your part one, you that said you weren't going to be able to fill an hour, by the way, say mince, complete. You and Coco, nonsense, the pair of you.
You should get the both of us
together. I know that. I don't think I could survive.
No. Throw Yasmin in and you're
gone. Well, but on that note, she's dodging. She's dodging, but we'll get you. You and Shannon. Don't think you're getting away with it. Night before, so you've had the part. So you've finished up on the Saturday. Yeah. You've had the night out. It's now Sunday. Yeah. You're mid hangover, going to have your Sunday dinner, and then Monday that place is opening for. What was that night like?
Just excitement. Yeah. I was desperate to go by that point. Susie and I were, you know, we were confident in what we were doing, and we were excited. And I think our columns were kind of full.
Brilliant.
So we'd managed to pull, you know, those clients that want to be there on the first day.
Of course,
and all that sort of thing.
That goes back to fans, not clients,
and we were opening that day, and we only had one other stylist, and we filled it, and we filled it quite quickly. It was great.
Brilliant. Well, what a cracking spot to finish part one and opening the doors to this amazing opportunity in Uddingston, and it sort of flying for day one. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.